Welcome back to Notches on the Headboard. This is part two. Let's get into it. If you hadn't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
A significant other. So you definitely got to give, whoever you're with that benefit of a doubt of, let me leave this other BS that I encountered in the back of me and let me keep moving forward and continue to grow as a person and live this life that's my journey.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I could say a lot about women, but I'm gonna talk about men. And all too often, men and I'll just say our because I'm a man, men in our some portion of our insecure minds, we have a problem with that. And some of it stems from how we were treated by our mothers or something like that, or some of us just not knowing how to be a man. Just because that last woman did you wrong, don't mean the next woman gonna do you wrong. And as you were saying, you need to leave that baggage at the door, because if you go into your future relationships, regardless of how they are, you're not going to be productive. And it doesn't matter how many people you've been with before. I've had so many women like ask me, well, have you ever been married before? I was like, yeah, I've been married 3 times. Oh, you've been married 3 times. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I would say, well, how many boyfriends you had? Oh, that's different. Wait a minute. Wait,
Nope.
how is that different? Because if I use my understanding brain, my reasonable part of thinking, women go into relationships to be in a relationship, not necessarily to be, bed buddies, friends with benefits, just like that. So if you've had 4, 5, 6 boyfriends and you about 35 years old, and I've only had 3 marriages, and you're holding my marriages against me and not anything else, I'm really trying to understand what you're talking about to me, because some of them boyfriends you probably lived with, or y'all was at each other's house frequently. So why are you holding it against me, how many wives I've had, when you refuse to, let it be a factoring decision how many boyfriends you had? Regardless of why I got married, why I got divorced, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, you've had your string of bedfellows, I've had my string of bed women, and we need to come into this situation with the mindset that it's going to be about us. If you're going to hold my past against me, then you need to hit the road, kick rocks, because I don't need you.
Definitely.
Well, I'm going to speak from the women's perspective, well, my own. Any woman that tells you that her past relationships hasn't shaped how she's going to carry your relationship is a lie.
Yes.
Just flat out. I'm going to be honest. What we go through, we pack it up in suitcases, and we are notorious for taking old bricks, trying to build new foundations. And a lot of times,
Wow.
if the man is not strong enough to say, hey, I got my own bricks over here, we're going to build over here, because I'm not him, and you're not going to hold me accountable for all that trash that you dealt with in your past.
That part right there.
Women are notorious for holding you accountable for all of their hurt, and it's not fair. It's not fair. They hold your past against you. They hold your past against you, and they hold their past against you. I always say women come in with 2 suitcases. It takes a really strong man to unpack that one because the other one is none of her business, which is your past. But that one suitcase that she has all of her hurt bundled up into, it takes a strong man to sit down and say, let's unpack this and let's see what we can do about it. But any woman that says, oh, I'm not affected by any of my past relationships, she lying through her teeth. Off top. I'm telling you, she's lying through her teeth. It is.
Preach.
We are emotional creatures. There is no way to get around it. I don't care. I have brothers. I can say I'm one of the coolest, most laid back chicks that there is. But at the end of the day, my emotions tend to get the best of me. And I have to sit with myself and be like, you tripping. You need to chill. You need to pull it together. I have a good enough accountability for me to where I can be like, man, you know you're doing way too darn much. You need to sit down and reevaluate yourself. You're too old for this. But when I was in my 20s, I held everyone accountable for the hurt that I suffered when I was in my teens. Everyone that came after that, until I could truly forgive myself for what happened and the person that it happened with, I was no good for anyone.
Right.
I wanted to be with people because that's just a human thing. But oh, buddy, I'm gonna hurt you before you can hurt me. Please believe that.
Damn it, man.
Please believe that.
But
man, you're speaking true facts right here.
People genuinely came at me with good intentions, but I was always the type to be like, nah, bruh, what you want from me? What you really want from me? Because what you saying, I ain't buying. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with you, but I'm gonna always have a plan B because you eventually gonna mess up. And when you go into something with the expectation that it will fail every time.
Yeah. Yes.
True words. True words.
My biggest advice is when you're coming off a breakup as a woman, you really need to take some time for yourself because that hurt, you're going to have to sit with that and you're going to have to let that die. You can't jump into something else immediately and be okay. And a lot of people say, well, women always leave a relationship emotionally before they leave physically. That might be true, but you still in the house with somebody that you have feelings for. So therefore, unless you get to the point where I hate you, I'm leaving and gone the next day, then that means there's still something in that household that you are clinging to.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of hope somewhere deep down. You might despise him when you look upside his head in the mornings, but somewhere throughout the day in that household where you all have made all of those memories, a little part of you is going to be like, I wish this could work. And when it doesn't, you need to go and you need to heal from that. Most women, especially older women, be like, I don't have a lot of time. I need to go ahead and jump into something right now. It ain't gonna never be right. And then when you get into something, you want to fast forward through everything and get right to lifetime.
Lifetime.
You get right into lifetime.
Right.
No.
That's funny the way you put that.
It's just like, no, like, oh, we connect, we got the chemistry, we gonna be together, we finna get married, let's get matching tattoos. No, ma'am. Sit down and find yourself.
That healing part, that is the biggest part. That piece of advice that you gave right there, that's gold right there. Because the thing about it is, people that go from relationship to relationship, or even people that don't, have those type of experiences, the ones that have those long relationships, once that relationship ends, that pain that you are experiencing, you have to give yourself time to damn near grieve.
Yes,
because
it is not damn near. It is. You have to grieve that. You have to let that dead relationship sit with you, and
Right.
you have to nurse yourself back to health.
Yeah,
You
you
really
gotta
do.
process it and release it. And sometimes it
Yes.
takes a long time to process it. I mean, if anybody can get out of a relationship one day and be in a relationship the next one, hey, I take my hat off to you. I salute you
Right.
because I sure as hell can't do that.
But
I
the thing
mean,
is, nobody really can. We're all human and have emotions. Now, some people are really, really good at pressing it down, pressing it down, pressing it
Mm-hmm.
down.
uh-huh.
But it's unhealthy and it's unfair. It's unfair to you and it's unfair to the next
True
It
that.
is, yeah. And don't be trying to get over somebody by getting under somebody else.
And that is the craziest thing. And so many women have that philosophy. So many women
Oh
have that
man.
philosophy. I can get over him if I start sleeping with so and so. Or, oh, Buddy always be trying to holler. I'm gonna holler at Buddy. No, because now Buddy is hollering at you, and he's in the dark. That you're trying to literally close a wound that requires stitches with a band-aid.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah,
And
and
it's just
for,
gonna
yeah.
keep oozing, and then it's gonna get infected, and it's gonna fester, and then it's nasty.
Yeah, and in
So
full
you're right.
transparency, I used to do that. In the late '90s, early 2000s, man. If a chick hurt me or whatever the case may be, I was like, "All right, I got you. I'm gonna go holler at her," and then be sitting there looking like, "What the hell am I doing? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, let me look in the mirror right quick. Like, I'm not good. I need to go sit down somewhere and really regroup." And
I think it's the fear of being alone.
yeah, I used to have that. I really
Yeah.
used to have that
I
fear of
think
being
for most
alone.
people, they have that fear of being alone, so they need someone there.
Mm-hmm.
And people like that often really don't know what it's like to build a true connection. And when
Mm-hmm.
they do build a true one, when they look up and they do build a true connection and that shit fall apart, oh, they ass is toast. Like for
Oh,
real.
yes. Yes.
They
Yeah.
toast. They are no good after that. They need to take a lot of time to. I always tell people, you gotta know you and fall in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are no longer afraid to be alone and by yourself, all that respect and stuff that we talked about, it's real easy. Because you're gonna find peace in yourself and you're gonna find respect in yourself. And if somebody can't treat you as well as you treat yourself, they ain't gonna make it.
Not at all. And
Not over here, they aren't.
and that kind of yeah, and that kind of goes into, how big of a role does extra baggage play in your current relationship or situation. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll say uh um for me, I've been single for what, 3 years now. Like, not in a relationship.
Right.
And I will say it's because of that last marriage.
Ooh-wee.
That really has taught me that it reinforced with me that it is okay to walk away when you are fed up. And it has also given me more enjoyment being single, because enjoyment and a little bit of anger, so for lack of a better word, because it's like I wouldn't mind being in a relationship, but it's like I just mentally I don't want to go through that. Oh, I got another crazy one. I ain't trying to deal with this. Because my last
Right.
relationship, it was like starting to look like my last marriage, and I was like, you know what? And we was what? Let me see, 3, 4, 5 months in. I was like, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah, you
I'm
gotta
good.
chunk the deuces quick. You're
Boy,
like,
did I. Like, and they're like, I thought you was with. I'm good.
I'm with me.
I'm good.
I am with me. Don't worry about it. You gotta get like that sometimes.
Yeah, man, because otherwise you're not learning. You know what I'm saying? When
Right.
you're in your youth, you got time to spend. You feel like you got time to waste like that. You're like, well, I give him another chance. We can work it out. We can talk about it. But then the older you get, the wiser you get,
the less BS you got time for.
Exactly.
deuces.
You don't.
Exactly.
You really just don't have the time. You're just like, you know what? Uh, my
We
last
good.
relationship. My last relationship, I was like, okay, I'm older. I'm wiser. I'm gonna try to make this work. And I remember sitting at the foot of the bed one day and just sitting there thinking to myself, what the hell is this for? Why am I trying
Mm.
to make something work that I am truly miserable in? And I had a little epiphany in that room. I'm so worried about what everybody else is doing and what everybody else is going to think, and oh, you know, she just needs to be with him because he's a provider, he's good to her. Y'all don't know what goes on behind these closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
That's for one. But for two, I was literally with a narcissist.
Mm.
And it took me a minute to figure out exactly what it was. And when I finally did figure it out, I was like, because I'm an empath and I want to help everybody and I want everything to work and I give me so freely, it is very easy for me to fall into the clutches of a narcissist.
Mm.
So I had to go and sit down somewhere and reevaluate myself and ask myself, what is it about me that keeps attracting broken men?
Oof.
Because
Real
if
talk.
I keep getting the same fish, it's obviously the bait.
Mm.
So, what is wrong with me to where I keep attracting the same man just in a different package?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that for me, I needed a project so I didn't have to focus on what I needed and what I
Mm.
wanted. So I kept a project man.
Mm.
I am the husband builder. I build boyfriends into husbands for the next chick.
Oh man, like Build a Bear.
Yes. So I teach them all the things they need to be great husbands, and then I send them to their forever wives.
Oh wow.
Um, but now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, if I'm not in a relationship, I'm fine. I don't have to have one.
Mm-hmm.
I am absolutely fine not being in a relationship
Right.
at this point in my life. And I thought that the older I got, the more I would want to be in a relationship. But literally for me, it was when I was younger, I wanted the fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
And because so many women are fed the fairy tale and told their whole life, you're supposed to get an education, get a husband, have 2.5 kids with a dog and a white picket fence. That is drilled into us, and that is what supposedly makes us a woman. But the reality of it is, I'm no less of a woman than the chick over there with 5 kids and a great marriage. Just because I'm single and I got one kid who's grown and out, I'm still I'm still just as much as a woman. And I think that so many people forget because women have this, oh, I'm independent. Doesn't matter how much she screams it. Very, very few honestly feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have been told our whole life since birth that we are supposed to have a husband.
Right.
That is a very hard thing to break mentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though we come from homes that are single. Well, I mean, I had my dad, but most of us come from single parent homes and we are still being told this is what you're supposed to do as a woman.
Mm.
But they
Yeah.
forget to teach them the fundamental things to be a wife. So we
Yeah.
grow up wanting relationships and not knowing how to actually be in one and maintain a healthy one.
That's true.
So that's
That
my
is
take.
true.
Wow. Much knowledge. Much knowledge. Very wise. Well, the next topic, let's see. The nature of the relationships. I'll let King kick that one off.
Um, when I speak about the nature of relationships, and I'm speaking of past relationships, how does the nature of, I mean, and we probably touched on this already, but
Right.
I think that the impact of your past relationship does have a bearing on your future ones because, as was mentioned before, if you don't take that time to grieve over that past relationship and you keep them bags on your back or at the ready, it's going to have an impact on you. And another thing that I would like to say on that is, let's just say two people were in a monogamous committed relationship and they was together 5-6 years. They've been engaged for 3 of them years with the idea, not the promise, the idea of getting married. You have a problem there, because if that woman has been drilled in her head, you know, you got to do all these things. You got to get married. You got to have the 2.5 kids, white picket fence, 2-car garage, cat, dog, rat, mouse, this, that, and the other. Now, when that relationship fails, this relationship has produced a damaged woman, so to speak, especially if that man has not been the man in that relationship and said, I'm going to take this relationship to the next level. Because if you can shack up under the same roof for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, why not get married? Because I'm not shacking up with nobody like that. Hell no. Like, what are we doing? Are we playing house or are we building a house? I mean, are we playing house or building a home? Because I just don't get it. If I'm gonna put a ring on your finger, we getting married in the next 3 to 6 months.
I was about to say 3 to 6 months for soul touching. Definitely 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
He wastes no time.
My man, get at it.
Yeah, because my thing is this: if we gonna talk about it, then we gonna be about it, and there's no need to talk about it if we're not prepared to do it. And hey, I've done it, and
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty about it, because if we're doing all of these things and I'm telling you all of these things, then as a man, as I would have perceived myself back then and perceive myself now, as a man, if we're having these conversations, it needs to be backed by action, or this woman is going to be looking at me crazy and get tired of me because, oh yeah, I said I'm gonna marry you, blah, blah, blah. We had these conversations, we made all these plans, and they
Because
stopped
now
at
you're
me.
looking familiar to her.
Yeah, and I
And
stopped
then
at
you're looking familiar like the last relationship.
right, and the most of my accomplishment was to put a ring on your finger. Okay, you've had this ring on your finger for 3 years. What are we doing? And please don't use the excuse, oh, we don't have money to get married. What do you need money for? Justice of the peace.
Justice of the peace.
It's that easy. If you're going to commit, then commit, and don't let that, that the nature of that relationship be a problem in future relationships for you or that other person, because it's scarring. Like my second wife, she was with her before we got married, she was her ex for what, 12, 17 years, never married. And I'm sitting there like, well, why? And I've been with other people who've been with that, and I'm like, well, why? Oh, well, it don't matter, it matters. It really matters. Don't sit there and tell me it don't matter. You've convinced yourself that it doesn't matter, but you know damn well that you want to be married.
Well, for me, after my first marriage, I was like absolutely against it. I'm not gonna joke. I was so. I mean, I was young, for one, but I was like, I gave him a child. I gave. I was always about I gave, and I never stopped to process. He gave me what he knew to give. It didn't dawn on me until I was much older that people love you from where they are and how they know to love you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but after my first marriage, after going through that and crying over that and grieving over that, and just, I literally felt like a failure. Like, my daddy was so important to me, and his opinion was so important to me when I was younger. It still is, but not as much now that I'm grown. But back then, and I remember my dad telling me, for one, he was disappointed that I was pregnant early. And then once, yeah, he was very disappointed. He was disappointed I was pregnant early. He was disappointed because it was a military man. And then once we got separated and we were headed to divorce, my father literally told me he was disappointed in me because it's the woman's job to make a marriage work. And if you are not willing to put in the work, then you shouldn't have gotten married.
Oof.
So I remember him saying that as the woman, I was supposed to fix it. So when it was done and it was all said and done, I remember saying, I will never, ever get married again. Never. It wasn't for me. I had guys that were like, hey, we've been dating 2-3 years, I want to get married. I had one literally drive me to the courthouse and was like, yo, today is the day we gonna do. Oh no, I'm not doing none of that. You wasting your time, partner. I'm not doing none of that. I'm not even getting out to do none of that craziness you got on your mind.
Wow.
No, I'm not getting out. And I remember him being so mad at me. He was so mad at me. And one went and bought a ring, and I was like, I don't know who's going to put that on. I don't want no parts of it. I literally didn't even think about getting married again until I was late in the game, all the way out of my 20s, well into my 30s. I was like, it's just a piece of paper. It's how I looked at it. It's a piece of paper. And I felt like marriage is something that you go into and you invest in. And when you leave it, whether y'all have assets to split or not, you are literally leaving half of you behind. Literally. And it was something that I just felt like I didn't have to give anymore. I didn't have anything left to leave behind if it didn't work. So I was like, nah, I don't want to get married. I'm good.
I feel you.
But as far as the nature of a relationship, I really think it depends on the background you have going into it. Yeah. I feel like people should sit down with each other in the beginning stages, not too early, but when you both know that you're feeling more than just a date here and there, or just knocking boots every other week or whatever. When you really feel like you're getting ready to go somewhere with that person, you're going to have to sit down with that person and y'all going to have to talk about the nature of the relationship. Where do you see this going? Where are you trying to go? And let me make sure I'm trying to get there with you. And I will say this, the biggest thing that I've noticed is the nature of the relationship that I was in, that with a man that came from a 2-parent home versus a single parent home, very different. Very different ideals. Very different ideals. One man saw his mom and his dad be married his whole entire life. They still are married. They are still with each other all the time, giggling, acting like they don't have grown kids, still in love. That is what he wants. That is the nature of his relationships. This is his goal. Whereas I've seen, and I've been in relationships with men who didn't have that.
Right.
They are clueless as to what they really want. It's just, I'm in this thing. I don't know what I want in it. I want you, and wherever it goes. They don't have a true nature of a relationship. And then there's me, who I grew up in the house with my mom and dad, and then they got a divorce. So I grew up with my mom and dad, and then I grew up in a single parent household. And I was with my grandmother majority of my life, actually. But when it comes to relationships and the nature of the relationship, honestly, for me, because of what I've been through, if we get married, we get married. If we don't, I'm fine. But what I won't do is I won't shack for years and years and years.
Right.
That's what I won't do. We can live separately and stay together forever. But once would you that's what you want. But to live under the roof, we're not doing that 10, 12 years and we're not married. It's just not going to work. So it's all about having a true conversation about the nature of where you're going.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
The only thing I got to add to that part is just kind of piggyback off what you're saying. Having that understanding of what you both want. I'm not going to say right there from the gate, but give it that little bit of cushion. If you both desire to have the same thing, which is a relationship with each other, you definitely need to sit down and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. What are you looking for? And if, both parties can't agree that they're looking for the same thing, then my advice is, let it go. And there's no
that part.
There's no shame in saying, I want something different than what you want.
Right.
Love is a powerful thing. But just because you love somebody, that don't mean you're supposed to be with them.
Yeah.
And that's one lesson.
That is, that's gold right there.
I've had to learn the hard way. So, and then when you do, sit down and have that conversation and you both figure out which direction you guys want the relationship to go in, there are going to be some adjustments to it further down the road as that relationship continues to develop and get stronger and stronger. You're going to have to make some adjustments. You can't expect the person that you're with to be the same person they were like 4 or 5 years ago, whatever the case may be. You're just continuing to grow. You know what I'm saying? Life is a continuation. So everybody's continuing to grow. So you the thing that you're trying to get out of the relationship is as close to what you both are wanting as possible. No relationship is going to be perfect. I can tell you from having my first marriage that failed to having what I consider a successful marriage right now. True enough, it's not perfect. We've been married 10 years, and it's a no days off. There's no days off. I can tell you that much. It's funny because I was having that conversation with my dad today. I was kind of stressing a little bit, over some things that are going on. But I called my dad and we talked, and he was like, I was commending him because I was like, Ebony, you made this look so easy. You know what I'm saying? You made it look so easy. And he started laughing, you know what I'm saying? And anyway, he'll just, telling me, you're gonna have those days, son. You're gonna have those times when you just want to walk away, but that's not an answer. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like it's not gonna fit the bill. You know what I mean? So he was just basically telling me, just keep your head up, talk it out, and keep it moving. It's like, so there's no need to go back. Just always keep it moving.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was part 2 of Notches on the Headboard. Stay tuned. Tune back in for part 3.